name is Lisa Lawrence. I am an active member of the Coalition to Save Our Homes, which started out in Irvington, New Jersey, Essex County, being that it's high volume of foreclosed homes. Group of us got together, and we're basically going to have a invitation, a rally on May 10th for SUZIE Johnson, and I'm here sitting right here with her daughter, Cynthia Johnson, who we're going to ask some questions as to what's going on with this issue, this case, and why more and more people in our immediate area need to know about this. Good afternoon, Cynthia.
Good afternoon.
Kids Ways. I just want to say to you that I was introduced on March 30th when we came down here, and I really, my heart goes out to you and your family, and I love the fact of what you're doing by fighting back. I love that you're not going to just let these banks come in and just evict your mom. Can you please just give us a little bit more information about the case? Can you just tell us how it started and give them a brief introduction of why we're here?
Well, this started in 2003. There was a transfer between Homeside Lending and Washington Mutual, and at that point they lost some of her payments per Washington Mutual. They advised of what was missing. I faxed the documents to them, or copies of the receipts, and instead of them reconciling, they immediately threw her into default. All right. And from there, the nightmare began. We waited, and I spoke to the Washington Mutual a few other times, and then they disappeared. They went bankrupt. And any servicer after that refused to try to reconcile. Instead, they were choosing to say that she was in default, and they just want to kick her out.
So this happened really with Washington Mutual, 2003, right? They
Yes.
put her in default in 2003,
Yes.
and so it's been going on from 2003 to 2008. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what happened in 2008?
2008, my mother was approved for a reverse mortgage through Wells Fargo, who refused the amount that was offered, which was $90,000, stating that I believe it was $120,000. They were saying that was owed on the loan, on the principal amount, and they refused to reduce it. And then, from what I understand, they sold the house to J.P. Morgan Chase for the $90,000 that they refused to accept for the reverse mortgage.
When was that sale? Do you know?
I think it was in 2010.
Did you get any kind of notification? Did you know anything that was going on?
No, it was all such a nightmare. I was going through a lot of things myself. I had some things going on. My mother was literally suffering in silence. She didn't want to talk to me about it because she didn't want, her words were, "I don't want to put any pressure on you." This has almost killed my mother. All right. Her health is bad. She doesn't want to leave the house, thinking that when she comes back, she won't be able to get in. Okay, so this is the kind of nightmare we've been living, or she's been living, you know. And when I finally picked up on what was going on, you know, I started going through all of the paperwork and everything and talking to her about it. And when I looked at everything, I was like, wait a minute. The pieces are falling together here for us, but they're refusing to even attempt to put the pieces together. All along, we have been told when it first started that the judge would order that ourselves and their attorneys sit down and talk about it and try to put the pieces together, and the attorneys have always refused to do it. No return calls, you know, so they just want to kick it out.
So when was the back and forth with the courts? Exactly.
From 2003 until March 29th, 2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what do you think happened as far as the whole communication back and forth, that it takes so many years to come to this point?
I think they just don't care. All right. It's just like she's no one, or we're no one. I live here too.
Okay.
It's like we're non-existent. That the property is more important than a human life. We don't care if you paid. We just don't care. We don't care about you. Just get out and go someplace else. All right. So that's pretty much what it is. I mean, and it's bad enough that we had been going through so much, or my mother had been going through so much. But when I went into court, I thank God that my mother was not in there that day to hear Judge Klein in Chancery Court say to me very nastily, we don't care about that old stuff. All right. And then she said, by my mother and I still being in the house, that we were abusing the system. All right. All the while, Attorney Perez from Shapiro and Perez was on the phone laughing. I'm so happy my mother was not there to hear that. That was just like a knife in my gut and twisting. You know, so it was just get out. And then on March 30th, there was a protest here, and it was thwarted. Thank God, power of the voice.
Power of the,
Of
and
the
what
people's voice.
and it's your initiative. You realize that's why you're still here in this house right now, because of your initiative. You're not like other people to just say, oh, well, that's the way it is, or I'm going to make the best of it. You've done something. So what made you say, I'm going to fight for my home, I'm going to fight for my mom, I'm going to fight? What made you say that? Let them know what really made you.
I listened to my mother sound weak and helpless. And I finally said, oh, hell no. Not to my mom. You're not going to beat her up anymore. You're not going to do anything. She has a big daughter with a big voice, okay? I told my mother, I am now your buffer. I will block every blow. Let them take it at me, all right? And that was it. That was my resolve. And I said, I'm going to hang in there, and no matter what. My mother's not leaving this property. This is her home. She bought this home. She deserves this home. She paid her mortgage until they lost her payments. And I refuse to allow them to hurt her another second. It's just not going to happen. So my word to the big banksters is this. The big bank gangsters is this. All right? You took out a hit on my mother. The judicial system, the judges, the lawyers, the sheriffs, the whoever, were your hitmen. My words to you are, my mother's not leaving. SUZIE Johnson will stay in her home. You will not evict her. You are wrong.
Thank you so much, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Really.
We have 3 demands. The first is on the bank. That is that Wells Fargo come back to the table and reinstate the mortgage that my mother was initially approved for. That's including a reduction in the principal to match the amount of the offer. The next 2 demands are for the Attorney General. The first is that he cooperate with the Coalition to Save Our Homes to set up a hearing to hear all victims of predatory lending in the state of New Jersey. We demand that you prosecute the lending institutions for their many violations of the law, and as a penalty that they reduce the principal amount down to the true market values of the properties.
We have 2 major developments coming up. On next Saturday, April 28th, the Coalition to Save Our Homes, along with People's Organization for Progress, are going to protest in front of Chase Bank, which is at 744 Broad Street in Newark at 11 o'clock sharp. And if the banks don't want to come to the table and deal with this SUZIE Johnson case, we will meet them on May 10th at 470 Meade Street in Orange, New Jersey at 9 o'clock sharp, because our whole purpose of this whole organization is to make sure that SUZIE Johnson stays. Like us on Facebook, Coalition to Save Our Homes, where we will give additional information and daily updates.